What it do, what it is, man. It's your boy DJ Juice. Another episode of All in Your Business, the podcast. Not about what you do, but why you do it. Because, I mean, what you do is cool, but why you do it, that means even more. So, in the building right now, you know, I like to get straight to it. Ain't no need to play games. Mr. Tracy Williams, man. How you doing, brother?
How you doing?
Hey, he said his name is, he's known by TP3. So we're going to call him TP3. So this episode, you just know that you are tuned in to TP3. And this episode is brought to you by a play, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to bring that in a little bit later. So, Tracy Williams, man, what's good with it?
Man, just glad to be here. Just glad to, you know, be right here in the juice box, just to be able to share a little bit about myself, about my play, you know, and about, you know, everything else that's going on.
Where are you from, East Texas?
Born and raised, Tyler, Texas, grew up right over there, you know, in the graveyard, you know, actually.
Hold on. You say grew up in the graveyard now. I don't even know what the graveyard is. I've been here for a while. So what is the graveyard? You tell me, you say something like grew up in the graveyard. I'm like, hey, hold on, brother.
So
you got cold hands, man.
No. It's just a lot of neighborhoods, you know, only older, you know, probably old heads and older than me probably know, you know, what the graveyard is, some of these communities, Butler College, White City, St. Louis, you know.
Okay. So coming up, you know, school, you know, brothers and sisters, what was this?
So, you know, I grew up, you know, like I said, in the graveyard, in the north over there. TJ Austin, went to Ramey.
What was the first job that you had?
What was the first? When I was young, I used to pick roses. I was underage. They had a little summer program and picking roses for the summer in the rose garden.
Oh, hold on, you picked roses?
Yeah, we were actually picking weeds, but, you know, I was about 14 years old, but I worked at the Oil Palace, you know, got to meet Dr. Dre. We worked just kind of like setting up the stages. We would tear them down, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, all the concerts that would come there. Too Short, I mean, man, that was a bad concert, you know.
Yeah.
We got to meet everybody, got their autographs, but Eazy-E didn't want to come out. Dr. Dre tried to go get him because we was in there when they was practicing, warming up. JJ Fad was there. Too Short was there.
Okay.
So it was good. DOC, great concert. NWA, Eazy-E. MC Hammer, he came through 3 times.
Oh, no.
First 2 times, Vanilla Ice was the opening act. And then, you know, he blew up. Public Enemy, they came through. Of course, they had country concerts.
Yeah.
Reba McEntire, them. So, you know, it was the spot for a long time, the Oil Palace, to have a lot of concerts. And, you know, I'm fortunate, and you know, thank God I got the opportunity to experience that, that life.
So, Oil Palace, you working, you doing that, you did go to college?
Oh, at that time, I was a kid. I was still in middle school.
Oh,
so, you know, just, you know, from there, you know, Wendy's. I worked at Wendy's. That was a job that I had, one of my early jobs. And so, you know.
So what was that like? Okay, you doing these things. So then, of course, high school, boom, leave, graduate. You go to college after that?
So that's the thing, you know, when I was a young man, you know, always didn't know, you know, what I wanted to do with my life.
Okay.
I remember going my 12th grade year. I remember filling out what they call it, the ASVAB test. They were trying to recruit me to go into armed forces. And so I decided, I was just like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, you know, just lost, you know, didn't have no identity, you know, didn't have a father figure there. And so what I ended up doing, I passed that test, and I was going to go to the Air Force, and they were recruiting me to go to the Air Force Academy. So they wanted me in officer candidate school. Okay. And so I remember going to Dallas, doing the physical, and not getting sworn in. And, you know, graduating from high school, then ended up, you know, having blessed to have 2 children, but still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So with me, I never wanted to go in there and do no fight. I just wanted to go because I knew it was going to pay for college. Okay. And so I didn't know how I was going to, you know, pay for college. So I just like, the recruiter was like, look, this is a 9 to 5. You shoot the gun one time in basic training, And it's just like you're gonna have a 9-to-5 job, and then you're gonna get these benefits.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. I was just like, oh, I can do that.
Okay.
You know, but
So once that happens, so what's the mind state now? You saying, okay, I still gotta do something.
yeah, I gotta do something.
And you're not really knowing what you want to do. So what's the next move?
You know, like a lot of young people that don't have no direction, I made a bad choice. I made a wrong turn. And that wrong turn was what ended up in an atmosphere in the 90s that was tough on crime. And Smith County was not the place to get in trouble. So that wrong turn led me to my first time ever getting in trouble. And, you know, I got in trouble for robbery.
Okay.
And what landed me, you know, and I'll never forget it in my head, you know, a judge that, you know, is now retired. She famously told me in the courtroom that, you know, I'm a bad actor. And I thank God that, you know, I didn't harm nobody in the commission of the crime physically, but, you know, trauma goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And I made a bad decision, a bad choice that I squarely put it on myself, something that I didn't have to do. And I remember that judge telling me with my mom in the courtroom, and I was thinking about when I stood and she was getting ready to sentence me, is if I would have thought about my mama then, because all the years I was gonna spend in prison, my mama was gonna spend those years suffering with me. And the judge told me that there was only 3 things can happen to me. She said I was gonna die in prison of AIDS. She said the gangs was gonna get me, or I'd be so old you'll never have to worry about me ever committing a crime in Smith County. And she sentenced me to 50 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
50?
50.
50 piece.
Yeah, nifty 50.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So that, boom. That, what age is that?
I was 19.
So you're 19, they hit you with the 50. What's that first emotion that go through your head?
I was numb, but looking at my mama, trying to fight back those tears and trying to be strong, it was just, you know, I felt like I had let, you know, all the strong women that had raised me, my mama, my grandmother, and they had always raised us on, you know, our foundation was faith in Christ. It was hard work. It was education. It was family. That was always our values. And I had a lot of potential, and I felt like I had let a lot of people down.
Okay.
I had let a lot of people down because you never know the impact of you going to prison, of how it'll harm the rest of the people in your family.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's what basically happened. It was just like the rest of the family was just kind of like, it shook them.
Yeah.
With me being out of place and me putting myself in that self-imposed exile.
That's a whole, you know what I'm saying, that joint opens you up to a whole nother realm. So now you got the numbers, now you got to thinking about the families, but then you actually have to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a whole another process.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you sit there and you realize, you know, you probably are numb that first day or two when you just sitting, but once the process and then they're like, hey, look, it's time. What was the thing that I guess you went to hold on to? Was there a quote? Was there
What I held on to is, you know, I knew from my youth that I had a purpose. You know, I was misguided. I didn't have that father figure, and, you know, battling those demons. I knew I had a purpose, and I knew that judge was wrong, that I wasn't gonna die in prison.
Yeah.
You know, I had a much greater purpose. And that's what I kind of held on to is I want to show my mama. I want to show myself. I want to show everybody. I want to even show my city that I got a purpose and I'm meant for more than this.
So I heard you say no father figure in the house.
No father figure.
So now, how important do you think that is now? Like, do you think that things would have been different?
Oh, most definitely. If I would have had just a little affirmation maybe just a little encouragement, that would have made the whole difference in my life, I believe. And it's the same thing, I think, for many, not just men, but also young ladies too. Just a little affirmation of seeing, the right type of man that they should be dating, or the right type of stand-up guy with some character that they should be dating. Because, for us, young men, when we don't have that there, we want some structure. We want some type of discipline, but it's not there. And then we hope for our mothers and our grandmas to raise us, and they do a great job, but they can't teach us how to be a man.
So these emotions and experiences, how long did you have to sit?
A lot of people won't believe it. 25 and a half years.
25 and a half.
Yeah, this was for state prisons.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was get it how you live down there.
Okay. So this is a situation that you're going through. You locked up, things happened. Did you have kids before you left?
Both of them was a year old.
Oh.
Yeah.
So not only is you leaving, now you leaving, you think about the moms, you think about the kids, you got a lot of other things weighing on top of that. So essentially, sometimes we kind of get back in those same places, where we think about the fatherless families and stuff like that. How did you, I guess, take on that?
So I knew that my children were growing up, and I knew that cycle, it was just like a perpetual cycle. And, growing up, I realized that my dad had his own issues that he was dealing with. He probably didn't have the greatest example.
Yeah.
And then it was passed down to me, and now I'm absent from my children's life. What I didn't want to be, I had become.
Yeah.
I had become the same thing that my father had. And that cycle or that generational sin or curse, it was just steady perpetuating itself. So absent from my children, in prison, trying to reach out, trying to be a father from prison cells, it's hard.
Yeah. So, like, what type of things did you take on when you was in?
So, what I did take on is, I found myself, not far from here on Beat 01. And it wasn't for the faint-hearted. About 3,000 people there. And so...
3,000?
Yeah, it was probably about 3,000 people there. Probably about
like
95% gang affiliated, so it was a lot of East Texas, a lot of Tyler people around. So, so what I did, I found myself going back to those core values that I was raised on. Not only did I pick up that Bible and start reading it to know what it said for myself about who, or my identity of who I was. And that didn't mean I always got it right, but I did, begin to pick it up and know, what it said about myself. And I began the opportunities of education, I began to take advantage of those. And so I found myself getting a couple of associate's degrees from Trinity Valley Community College.
No.
And so eventually what led to getting those couple of associate's degrees, I started going to Lee College. Also, Sam Houston, started working on a bachelor's, and ultimately I ended up, before I left, I ended up with a bachelor's degree from Southwestern Seminary.
That happens now, the process, the parole time, right?
Yeah, getting released, yes.
So how many times did you go up? Because, when they say you go up, is this like a every 5-year thing? Do you have to do so much and then they say, all right, we'll let you go talk to the people, or what?
So finally, when I was released about 5 years ago in the height of COVID, the first time I got the opportunity, I was released.
Okay.
I was, because it was like this. I had messed up, I had done well, and then finally when I had made up my mind that And I remember I was on Beto. I had made up my mind and we were working in the fields. And I remember having, and it's a funny thing to be in trouble in prison.
Yeah, I'm about to say, because
in trouble in prison.
I already have a couple questions in my head I have to ask you, but okay.
I was in trouble in prison for doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
And I remember in 2007, it was 2007 to be exact, and I was on that unit, Beto, and I remember I had already got a couple of associate's degrees, and I remember being in the fields, and I was looking, far as the eye could see, I was looking at the weeds, the corn maze, and all that stuff, and I was watching that man on the horse, and they had all these, they call them field bosses around, and I remember, and I was like, man, I'm meant for more than this. And I said, never again will I put myself in a situation where people have the authority to do and treat me any kind of way. I'm like, I'm not a slave. And I was thinking in my mind, I was like, I wonder how many people have died out here and nobody ever remembered their name of who they were. And so that's what I was thinking about. I was like, God, I'm meant for this, more than this.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not gonna do this no more. And that, it was just like an aha moment. It was just like, from there, it was just like, I went forward and I didn't never look back.
Got you. So you talked about the fields. Explain these fields, like, cause I'm thinking, is it like Life, the movie?
Oh yeah, it's like Life, the movie. See now that's why I said that about Safe Prison. They don't really do that no more, in Texas. But at that time, I was there. Yeah.
At that time, it was really, it was really outside. When you say I'm
really
in the field,
outside in the sun, and you got the hole. They call it a hole. It's an Aggie. You know what I'm saying? And you got to hit on it. And you hitting on it for hours. So you can imagine, just hitting on it with an Aggie, just
and
hitting
that's
on
just
it.
you do.
Human lawnmowers is what you are. Just busy work. That's all it is.
Man,
clearing fields.
That's crazy. So
that's real. That's real talk.
So now you get out and the world different. What kind of phone you talk on when you went in?
They didn't talk on no phone. They had brick phones and they had pages, and you put that 911.
So when you went in, there was still pages.
It was pages.
And when you got out, you FaceTiming.
Oh yeah, we FaceTiming.
That's crazy how the world moves.
Yes.
So when you got out, did you feel like you were in for that 25? Did it feel shorter? Did it?
It felt like at first, because this was the pandemic, I felt like I didn't belong out in the world because I was lost. And I remember, and I don't know if you mind me telling this story, I remember going on a date with my now wife, and she told me to get out and pump some gas. And she gave me her card, and it was taking me so long, and she was just like, what's taking so long? It's like, she was like a little upset. And I was just like, I never pumped no gas. I don't know how to do it. And she always feel bad when I tell that story because she was just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how. I just said, show me one time. I'm a quick learner. I'll pick it up real quick, but I didn't know.
Yeah. Just because of the time.
Just because of the time. Same thing with the ATM, going to an ATM. I don't know. I don't know about chips. I don't know about tap to pay. I don't know.
Yeah. So all of that was just boom, just fresh out on you. So now as you walk around the society, you feel like you kind of the person who left behind on some of the stuff.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. I felt like I didn't belong because the world, everything had went on by, and I didn't even have this much weight on me then, and people were looking at me and were just like, you look different. You really do look different because life or the world has beat people down out here, and then you fresh out. It's a new world. You ready to go. You got that energy. It's like, I've been gone 25 and a half years. I got stuff to do. I got a purpose. I got, that's how I felt.
Yeah. the drive and tenacity
Yeah.
has picked up because of the lack thereof that you had for so long. So it all built up. So now it's going. So it's a guy by the name of Aldi 300 from Longview. Real dope artist, but he was able to take his music and push his music. I believe the grind was stronger because he sat down for that. So he had that grind and that purpose. So when he got out, he pushed it back to the people who he was in with. Then he gained new followings. He started adapting, but it was only because he had that goal. So you have artists who been out, doing nothing. And he just surpassing everybody because he got that in him.
Yeah.
And so it's a gift and a curse that sometimes that you have to go through those things to get to that point. But I always believe that everything that you want, you already have. How do I get to this next level? How do I've done what I've done. I've did what I did. So this is my path. It's already here. How do I keep on and keep my mental? So as I hear you talk, a lot of the mental transitions, but it's getting to a place of like freeness.
Yeah. So
at what point do you feel like you are no longer like held and you're like, okay, I don't belong here, but at what point did you start crossing over?
So initially it felt like that because it was so foreign to be free, but yet it felt like a man out of my time. That's what to put it in other words, who used that? Captain America. Yeah, a man out of my time. That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
How he was in the 2000s, but he was from the 40s. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it was just the eventual of getting acclimated, and for me, doing self-care and kind of keeping up some of the routine that I did while I was inside working out. And the goals that I had set for myself, the things that I wanted to accomplish and achieve, those were some of the things that kind of drove me. And in that time that I was in COVID, I got to have with my mother. I was living with my mother, and I was able to get to know her better and to see all the degradation of what had happened in a lot of my family's life and what things had happened.
Yeah.
And how the absence, like time, it kind of stood still for them too. And I was just like amazed. But one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to fulfill those goals that I had on paper and make my mama proud.
Yeah.
That, hey, this happened so many years ago, but I'm gonna make you proud and I'm gonna be here for you. And that's what I sought out to do. And so I kind of transitioned over and realized that, I had to get out of this mode, this haze that I'm in.
Yeah. So getting out of that haze, what would you say that first step was?
Just still relying on my faith and eventually getting out. I remember at first I was going through a little counseling, and I remember this counselor said that you're in survival mode. You're still living as if you're in prison. Because you're always in there, you waiting on to be locked down or something to happen. And so I was stacking money, I was working, but I wasn't doing nothing to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, because the COVID was lifted, I wasn't going out, I wasn't doing nothing. I was just stacking money, and I was just, working.
Yeah.
And
so what was the first thing that you did self-care wise?
I remember it was around my birthday. I went to San Antonio. I had never been to San Antonio. I bought a car. I remember going to San Antonio, going to the Riverwalk by myself, seeing a Spurs game. I went to a Black History Museum in I think it's San Angelo, somewhere around there. I just went to the Alamo and I just enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
And that kind of broke the mold for me of, I don't need nobody to tell me where to go.
Man, you did stuff that people who was out for 25 years and never been to a game, never seen the Alamo. the perseverance to get through what you did and just say, hey, look, I'm going here? Because a lot of times I always heard stories of people not wanting to be around large crowds, not liking people behind. It's a lot of things that come with, being incarcerated.
That counselor was right that I was living in survival mode.
Yeah.
I was waiting on the next thing to happen, something to happen. And so once I realized that, I got one life, I need to get out there and live it. I need to live. I want to get out, experience, and that's what I did. And it kind of broke the mold, really.
Yeah.
Damn. It's just like.
So going from breaking the mold, now you break the mold, now you living.
Once I got my master's degree, that was on the list of things that I wanted to do. I got that. I scratched that off. Thank God the job that I was able to get, working for a community college, as well as, even eventually transitioning being a director at a community college. And so the play was on the list. And I began to start helping a friend who was, he used to act in some of my plays inside of prison, because this play is something I had already done twice at two different places.
Okay.
And it had an impact on the men in there. And so while I was in there, just like you said,
he done skipped through all of this stuff about writing plays in prison. I asked him what he was doing in prison. The man said he was doing push-ups to sit-ups.
No.
I was out there cutting corn. Now I just find out that this man was Tyler Perry incarcerated.
That's where I got that name TP3 from.
See what's going on, y'all. See how they now I gotta take this. So if you watch this, it seems a little backwards. It's because of this man here. It's because of this man. It's TP3 Tracy Williams to be exact.
No.
So hold on. So now going back. So you're in prison writing plays?
Oh yeah.
Because a guy reached out to me. I was supposed to go. I don't want to lie and say what unit it was, but I think it was called Original Minds out there. They have a podcast and some other stuff going on. They were trying to get me out there to speak. I'm aware that they have talent shows and different things, but I didn't know as far as like full-length plays and things like that. I didn't know that was going on.
That's where I actually got the name. The guys gave that name to me, and actually that TB3 is actually just my initials. But the way it was wrote, it just kind of stuck, and people started calling me that. But while I was in there, I probably about 20 shows I done, and it's on two different units, and meaning two different geographical areas. And so not only did I do plays, talent shows, variety shows, comedy shows, and it was the meeting the people, that had these gifts and talents that could do things, and I could just organize them and put it together. And so I started writing plays in there, and this play actually comes from prison.
Okay.
And having the resources.
I actually turned this play into a screenplay. So, for the big screen, how it would look. And so I was able to do all that in there, just like you said. You have the time, and I was able to put it all on paper and to do it, and had the access to the resources to type things up and even format it and put it like it should be. And
No. So in doing these plays, how you getting the actors? They just... you reaching out, what I'm saying? Do you got to pay $100 bucks stuff to the people, or they want to get paid? Like, how does this work?
No, people, with the access that I had, where I was working in the prison, actually was the chapel. So, you frequent and you see a lot of people coming through. And so you were able, just to scout talent.
I'm just saying, 'cause I know you got somebody in there who like, hey, bro.
Yeah.
You don't give me no 4 or 5 suits, bro. I ain't even gonna be able to do it.
No. All these people were wanting to do this because they wanted a venue or avenue to be able to do something productive, to be a part of something that was bigger than them.
So, question: is there a person right now that you would call your Denzel that if he got out tomorrow, you'd be like, hey, brother, I need you?
They're probably already out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You're doing these plays, you said over 20 plays.
20 shows.
20 shows.
It was probably 10 times I did a play, 10 times. The rest was comedy shows. We did like Kings of Comedy shows. We did, skits and variety shows.
Okay,
kind
so
of like Living Color. Like we did all this.
So this a first? Are you going back? Are you going to start your own production thing where you doing a blend of different things? Like, where we going with it?
Well, wherever the Lord takes it, I always say this, this is something, if I could do without getting paid, but, you have to get paid to, be able to do overhead and stuff like that.
You know your purpose when you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And telling the stories and also the message in there to help other people, to encourage and uplift them. And so, yes, this could be the first of many. The first of many things to come.
Yeah, and I always believe, man, make your purpose your paycheck. So if you could live with that and you can work and make money and don't feel like you're working, that's always a blessing.
Yeah.
So if it's these plays, man, I wish more power to you. So this play, Sins of My Father. If you were to describe this and somebody said, man, you got 30 seconds, man, you on right now, what we got?
Okay, 30 seconds.
Sins of My Father is about 4 men that are pledging
to a fictitious fraternity, Phi Alpha. And in that, this fictional Tyler University, these 4 guys, the relationships that they have or they don't have with their father has shaped them and how the men they have become. So identity, purpose, and legacy is what this play about. It's Christ-centric, but it is raw and real life, not some of that stuff you see on TV that's imaginary. It's real life.
Yeah, I heard it first, man. The one and only Tracy Williams, Only a Business, the podcast. Go check out the play. How can they follow you?
They can follow me. I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram, but the play is, you can go to Eventbrite, Saturday, August 16th. That is at Caldwell Auditorium. And the doors open at 5:45 p.m. So just look up Eventbrite, #Sins, #Stage Play,
you just look that up and you can see it. It'll pop up.
Straight like that, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's what it is. All in your business. The podcast not about what you do, but why you do it. Juice Box out.